The Story of Dr. Dolittle by Hugh Lofting. Abridged by Taylor Seth Hall. Part 3. The Land of the Monkeys. The monkey, Chi-Chi, knew all the paths through the African jungle, and he led the doctor and his animal friends through the very thickest part of the forest. Gub-Gub, with his short legs, soon got tired, and the doctor had to carry him, which made it pretty hard when they had the trunk and the handbag with them as well. Chi-Chi led them to a place where no man had ever been before, and stopped at a big hollow tree between high rocks. "We had better sleep here," said Chi-Chi. "Then we can go on into the land of the monkeys." So there they stayed the whole night through. At last, when daylight began to come through the thick leaves overhead, they set off for the land of the monkeys. It was a long, long way, and they often got very tired, especially Gub-Gub, but when he cried they gave him milk out of the coconuts, which he was very fond of. They always had plenty to eat and drink because Chi-Chi and Polynesia knew all the different kinds of fruits and vegetables that grow in the jungle and where to find them. They made their lemonade out of juice of wild oranges, sweetened with honey which they got from the bees' nests in the hollow trees. No matter what it was the doctor or the animals asked for, Chi-Chi and Polynesia always seemed to be able to get it for them, or something like it. And after a while they got used to walking such a lot, and did not get so tired, and enjoyed the life of travel very much. But they were always glad when the night came and they stopped for their resting time. Then the doctor would make a little fire of sticks, and after they had had their supper, they would sit around the fire listening to Polynesia singing songs about the sea, or to Chi-Chi telling stories of the jungle. And many of the tales that Chi-Chi told were very interesting, because although monkeys had no history books of their own before Dr. Dolittle came to write them for them, they remember everything that happens by telling stories to their children, and Chi-Chi spoke of many things his grandmother told him, tales of long, long, long ago before Noah and the flood, of the days when men dressed in bear skins and lived in holes in the rock and did not know what cooking was, having never seen a fire. And he told them of the great mammoths and lizards as long as a train that wandered over the mountains in those old times, nibbling from the treetops. And often they got so interested listening that when they had finished they found their fire had gone right out, and they had to scurry round to get more sticks and build a new one. One day Chi-Chi climbed up a high rock and looked out over the treetops, and when he came down he said they were now quite close to the land of the monkeys, and would soon be there. And that same evening, sure enough, they saw Chi-Chi's cousin and a whole lot of other monkeys, who had not yet got sick, sitting in the trees by the edge of the swamp, looking and waiting for them. And when they saw the famous doctor really come, these monkeys made a tremendous noise, cheering and waving leaves and swinging out of the branches to greet him. They wanted to carry his bag and his trunk and everything he had, and one of the bigger ones even carried Gub-Gub, who had got tired again. Then two of them rushed on in front to tell the sick monkeys that the great doctor had come at last. But before they could get into the land of the monkeys, they came to a steep cliff with a river flowing below. The land of the monkeys was on the other side, across the river, and Jip the dog looked down over the edge of the steep, steep cliff and said, "Golly, how are we ever to get across?" "Oh dear," said Gub-Gub. But the big monkey who was carrying the pig set him on the ground and cried out to the other monkeys, "Boys, a bridge! Make a bridge! Get lively!" The doctor began to wonder what they were going to make a bridge out of, and he gazed round to see if they had any boards hidden any place. But when he looked back at the cliff, there, hanging across the river, was a bridge all ready for him, made of living monkeys. For while his back was turned, the monkeys, quick as a flash, had made themselves into a bridge just by holding hands and feet. And the big one said to the doctor, "Walk over, all of you." Gub-Gub was a bit scared walking on such a narrow bridge at that dizzy height above the river, but he got over all right, and so did all of them. When the doctor and all his animals were safe in the land of the monkeys, the bridge of the apes was pulled across to the other side. Then Chee-Chee turned to the doctor and said, "Many great explorers and naturalists have lain long weeks hidden in the jungle waiting to see the monkeys do that trick, but we never let an Englishman get a glimpse of it before. You are the first to see the famous Bridge of Apes." And the doctor felt very pleased. Soon John Dolittle became dreadfully, awfully busy. He found hundreds and thousands of monkeys sick, gorillas, orangutans, chimpanzees, dog-faced baboons, marmosets, grey monkeys, red monkeys, all kinds. And many had died. The first thing he did was to separate the sick ones from the well ones. Then he got Chee-Chee and his cousin to build him a little house of grass. The next thing, he made all the monkeys who were still well come and be vaccinated. And for 3 days and 3 nights the monkeys kept coming from the jungles and the valleys and the hills to the little house of grass where the doctor sat all day and all night, vaccinating and vaccinating. Then he had another house made, a big one with a lot of beds in it, and he put all the sick monkeys in this house. But so many were sick, there were not enough well ones to do the nursing, so he sent messages to the other animals, like the lions and the leopards and the antelopes, to come and help. But the leader of the lions was a very proud creature, and when he came to the doctor's big house full of beds, he seemed angry and scornful. "Do you dare to ask me, sir?" he said, glaring at the doctor. "Do you dare to ask me, the king of the beasts, to wait on a lot of dirty monkeys? Why, I wouldn't even eat them between meals as a snack." Although the lion looked very terrible, the doctor tried not to seem afraid of him. "I didn't ask you to eat them," he said quietly. "And besides, they're not dirty. They've all had a bath this morning. Your coat looks as though it needed brushing badly. Now listen, and I'll tell you something. The day may come when the lions get sick, and if you don't help the other animals now, the lions may find themselves left all alone when they are in trouble. That often happens to proud people." "The lions are never in trouble. They only make trouble," said the leader of the lions, turning up his nose, and he stalked away into the jungle, feeling he had been rather smart and clever. Then the leopards got proud too, and said they wouldn't help. And then, of course, the antelopes, although they were too shy and timid to be rude to the doctor like the lion, they pawed the ground and smiled foolishly and said they had never been nurses before. And now the poor doctor was worried frantic, wondering where he could get help enough to take care of all these thousands of monkeys in bed. But the leader of the lions, when he had got back to his tent, saw his wife, the queen lioness, come running out to meet him with her hair untidy. "One of the cubs won't eat," she said. "I don't know what to do with him. He hasn't taken a thing since last night." Then the lion said to his wife, quite proudly, just what he had said to the doctor, and she got so angry she nearly drove him out of the den. "You never did have a grain of sense," she screamed. "All the animals from here to the Indian Ocean are talking about this wonderful man and how he can cure any kind of sickness and how kind he is, the only man in the whole world who can talk the language of the animals. And now when we have a sick baby on our hands, you must go and defend him. Nobody but a fool is ever rude to a good doctor. You—" and she started pulling her husband's hair. "Go back to that man at once," she yelled, "and tell him you're sorry, and take all the other empty-headed lions with you, and those stupid leopards and antelopes. Then do everything the doctor tells you, and perhaps he will be kind enough to come and see the cub later. Now be off! Hurry, I tell you! You're not fit to be a father." And she went into the den next door where another mother lion lived, and told her all about it. So the leader of the lions went back to the doctor and said, I happened to be passing this way and thought I'd look in. Got any help yet?"
"No, I haven't, and I'm dreadfully worried."
"Help's pretty hard to get these days," said the Lion. "Animals don't seem to want to work anymore. You can't blame them, in a way. Well, seeing you're in difficulties, I don't mind doing what I can, just to oblige you, so long as I don't have to wash the creatures. And I have told all the other hunting animals to come and do their share. The leopards should be here any minute now. Oh, and by the way, we've got a sick cub at home. I don't think there's much the matter with him myself, but the wife is anxious. If you are around that way this evening, you might take a look at him, will you?"
Then the doctor was very happy, for all the lions and the leopards and the antelopes and the giraffes and the zebras, all the animals of the jungle and the mountains and the plains came to help him in his work. There were so many of them that they had to send some away and only kept the cleverest. And now, very soon, the monkeys began to get better. At the end of the week, the big house full of beds was half empty. And at the end of the second week, the last monkey got well. Then the doctor's work was done, and he was so tired he went to bed and slept for 3 days without even turning over. Next week on the Storytime Classics podcast, the monkeys and gorillas decide to give Dr. Dolittle a gift of gratitude and find him a strange two-headed animal to take with him on his journey.